The sad reality is that most people are swapping over to Bluetooth. Brands have really forced this upon us by just dropping 3.5mm headphone jacks out of their flagships. But there are still some of these about, and that is wired in-ear headphones. They're a dying breed, but One More still believes in them. And what I've got here with me is the One More Penta driver in-ear headphones, P50. And these here are fantastic. They have hybrid drivers. So there are 5 drivers in each of the in-ears. They are using high quality components. We even have inline controls. So remember the days of being able to press a button, volume up and down, skip and previous track without having the touch controls that sometimes don't work? Well, it's all there, including, of course, no issues with latency, being wired, and some fantastic audio quality out of these. So in this review, I'll go over them. I'll let you know why I think these are the best in-ears that you can get if you're still running 3.5mm tech, that is, and you haven't converted to Bluetooth like a lot of people are. The One More Penta driver comes really nicely presented. I like the way they lay this out. They give you all of the clear information, specs and everything. So you want to read all of those specs. I won't spurt them all out here at the moment. So just hit pause there. You can see the frequency range, very good, from 20 to 40,000 hertz. The impedance is 32, and you don't need like a powerful DAC or amp or whatever to drive these. So they're just designed really to be using them with your common phone that you'd have. And look at this when you open it up. I really like this layout. And there's a little sketches here with a bit of information too about them. Presentation is top here with One More. So pulling this out where they would be, of course I've been using them, that's why they're not in there. You will find our various different tips. And this is fantastic. Look at this huge range of tips that they have given us. So we've got foam tips, 3 sets there, and then your silicon. And I've been using the phone tips before, I just put them back in, but they are really good. And they give you a little bit of passive noise isolation too as well. And they claim up to about 28 decibels reduction too. So here in the top pouch, you'll find a Type-C to 3.5mm adapter. It's a high quality one, so that's good. Most people won't have a 3.5mm headphone jack, sadly, on their flagship phone, unless maybe a mid-range, then you might have it. And there is a pouch to store and carry them about. So let's have a look at one of the in-ears right here. So these are high-res certified. They have been tuned by a Grammy Award-winning sound engineer, Luca Biganardi, if I'm pronouncing that correct. Hopefully I am. And the silicone tips here, so they can easily remove those, pull them off. I've had the, as I mentioned just before, had the foam tips on, so very easy just to take that off, put the new ones on. There is a filter right here too as well, which is great. They're clearly labeled left or right, and what is going on inside them is what I absolutely love. So this is a hybrid system, as I mentioned at the start, 5 drivers in each of them. So we have our dynamic driver, and then we have planar units. There are 4 of them to cover all frequency ranges. So they're just going to sound absolutely amazing. So complete full deep bass, good volume to them. You've got those mids, soundstage, clarity, detail of those highs, the crispness. I cannot stop talking about how good these sound. They are so good. And you'd expect this out of an expensive pair. But anyway, so we have the MMCX connectors. They just slot in like so. Okay, they're not wireless. They do not operate wirelessly at all. We're so used to Bluetooth. No. Cable is very, very good. I like it because this is a OFC, so that's the oxygen-free copper, and it doesn't want to tangle. It's quite tangle resistant, really high quality, nice rubber on the ends. Inline controls. So we have our volume up and down, or previous, next track, play and stop, or answer your calls. And then a microphone on the other side. I'll give you a sample of that later on in this video. 3.5mm jack. If you're going to be using this, or use the Type-C adapter that's included, of course, and that is gold plated to ensure the quality. Just like the connection here that I showed you before, this is also gold plated too as well. So they haven't skimped at all on this. Everything is high quality. The design is this style right here, so that loops over your ear and then they go in. Now they are super comfortable. The seal I have is really good, so that's very important. You've got to get a seal, otherwise they're not going to sound how they should. So the weight of just the in-ears right here, they're quite light. They're only 3.5 grams. The total weight is 21 grams, and the cable weight, that adds a bit, but that's 14 grams. But remember, the total is the 21, so they're still lighter than pretty much all Bluetooth earbuds And I like how that just goes over your ear. It kind of takes the weight off them, not that they have any weight, and just makes their fit very comfortable. And they have not fallen out on me as I wear them. The only thing with cabled, that when you're walking along, you hear some of the sound being transmitted from the cable itself knocking into you when you move about. You can't avoid that unless you're stationary, unfortunately. So that's one of the pros you get from Bluetooth and being wireless. But you get, of course, no issues with latency, being wired, and just much better quality. No compression at all. Onto that sound quality now. So at first I was a little disappointed. I found them a bit flat. I thought, oh, hang on, there's kind of lacking bass. But it was my own fault. It was because I didn't have a correct in-ear fit with the silicone tips, which is super important. That's like one of the most important things ever when you put them on. In-ears especially, you got to get that seal down. So try all of the different sizes, and they give us so many, which is really good. And I love those foam tips as well, because you get a little bit more isolation. They're quite comfortable. They slowly expand in your ear, and you just get a perfect seal. So that's when these came alive, and I could just rant on all day about how great these really do sound. So because we have just a frequency range that is so broad, so we're going from 40 to 4,000 hertz, and they also do have that 32 with the impedance. 32 ohms there is very good, so you don't need powerful amp or DAC. They just sound so good. So once you get used to them, they gave me goosebumps. That's how good they were to start out with. So the bass, loud, powerful, deep, really good bass. The mids, the vocals, everything is really just rich, and the tones and the highs coming through really clear, not overly sharp. Just so much detail to them. Where they sound the best to me, and I've been loving them, is genre like rock. So rock music, I can hear all the different instruments. You can hear the guitar, you can hear the bass come through, the drama, everything. The vocalist, soundstage, just absolutely fantastic. And I mean, we do have here with them a Grammy award-winning sound engineer that has tuned them. And they really, yes, they're expensive, but they just sound absolutely fantastic. Without a doubt, the best wired headphones that I have tested out. I've had a few, but I've mostly been reviewing, I'll admit, Bluetooth. So it's so nice to go back to analog, back to wired, and hear what they sound like. And these are absolutely fantastic. You will not be disappointed. Okay, so most phones don't have 3.5mm headphone jacks nowadays. Flagships don't. So what is it like when you're using the Type-C adapter? Well, it's different. It's the best way to describe it. So when I use a DAC, they sound different. To a phone with 3.5mm, sound different again, slightly, and that's dependent on the manufacturer and what kind of DAC you're using. But to really hear these and to really hear them come alive, I recommend a high quality DAC, but most people probably won't have that, but they still sound really good connected up to your favorite phone. And it goes without saying, of course, there's no issues with latency at all. These are wired, they're not using Bluetooth, so you're going to have none of that terrible lag or problems you can have with Bluetooth. I have the one more Penta plugged straight into my K30 Pro Zoom here, and this is the microphones and exactly what they sound like. So it's not using the phone's inbuilt microphones, but it's using this one right here, and you can probably hear now as I tap it. So that's just proof that it is the inbuilt microphone. You may hear some cicadas. They're in the background buzzing away, but I think the microphone does sound very good. Now wearing them, they are very light. They're only 3.5 grams. That's way lighter than any of the Bluetooth in-ears that I do cover. So a little tip here on wearing them, that you want to of course get left and right. That's the first thing you do, but you want them upright. Then you place them in your ears as you would just some normal in-ears, okay? Give them a bit of a twist, and then you put the hooks over the cable, and you have to fit them in again a little bit, and that way you've got them in, you've got that fit, and there's less mucking about with them to try and get them on. So now that's it, they're done, they're in place, they're not going to go anywhere, they have not fallen out on me because they have the cable with the hook style to them. They're pretty comfortable. It gets the cable back behind my ear, kind of out of the way, and then I have the microphone here on the side, which is good, and I've got easy access to those controls. And I do like this because I'm so used to having to tap with the touch controls with all the Bluetooth in-ears, and let's face it, they don't always work 100% of the time. Most of them don't. And of course with the physical controls, it's always going to work, and I like that. You've got no issues with latency, the quality of audio is improved, you get none of the compression with Bluetooth, even though yes, that has improved a lot with LDAC, especially that codec that I've been covering a lot of recently, removes the compression, but still you can't beat wired connection, analog connection, they are really good. So all up, the one more Penta driver here, very, very good. The only downside to them for me is their price. Yes, they are expensive, but if you want the best with in-ears and you're still using phones like this one here that does support it, or your own tablet that's got a 3.5mm headphone jack, or better yet, a DAC, okay, then you're gonna get some amazing sounded wired in-ears. They are really just fantastic, and of course they have been tuned by a Grammy award-winning sound engineer. To me it shows, and then the hybrid driver setup, you're getting all that frequency range, just everything I've been listening to comes alive. You hear all of those details, the highs, the mids, bass, all of it. Absolutely fantastic, but it's just that they are a little bit pricey. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the One More Penta driver.